Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Plus. We're bringing you stories from the world of business, policy and economy. Here are the headlines we're tracking at this hour. A year after Hindenburg researchers' damaging report against Adani Group's market capitalization doubles from its lows, only 4.7 lakh crore short of its all-time peak. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to kick off his 2024 Lok Sabha election campaign with a rally in Bulandshahr today. Will be announcing projects worth 19,000 crore rupees. Greater Noida Police announces traffic restrictions. And AIIMS-Delhi to adopt 100% digital payments. No cash payments will be accepted at any counter other than the AIIMS Smart Card top-up counters after 31st of March. And Tesla to drive in a crossover SUV soon. The entry-level budget EV is likely to cost around $25,000 and will be designed for India. And all those stories we are tracking here on News9. Kartik Malhotra with me in the studio. Hi, good morning, Kartik.
Good morning, Shweta.
The top story, of course, we are tracking at this hour comes nearly an year after that damaging report by Hindenburg on Adani Group. We're now given to understand, looking at all the wealth that Adani has created, the market cap is nearly double of what it was, from its lows at the end of January of 2023.
Yeah, so Shweta, it's in fact exactly a year since the Hindenburg research report came out. It came out on the 25th of January 2023. Today we are sitting on the 25th of Jan 2024, and just a few hours from now, it was within market hours, I remember that the report had actually surfaced, and we saw the Adani stock take the kind of beating we had never seen any stock in the history of stocks in India take a beating. And there was up to $100 billion worth of erosion of wealth, erosion of market cap when it came to Adani family's own holding in the Adani Group and the Adani stock itself. So over a period of multiple downs, very few ups, we actually saw the wealth erode from a market cap of about 19.2 lakh crores coming to below 7 lakh crore rupees at about 6.8 lakh crore rupees. And yeah, I mean, things have recovered, things have shaped up all right for Gautam Adani and his family and all the 10 listed companies of Adani. Not all of them are back in the green. In fact, only 3 out of the 10 listed stocks of Adani have been able to recoup what they had lost and continue to trade in the green. But 7 out of those 10 continue to be in the red, and they haven't really been able to come back to their pre-Hindenburg research report release levels. Now, which are the sectors which have done well for the Adani Group? Adani Power and Adani Ports and SEZ seem to be the best performing assets in the arsenal of Adani Group, which have recovered and have in fact added wealth in excess of what it was in the pre-Hindenburg research report. Now, very interestingly, today's Times of India, the edit page has a nice 6-column opinion piece written by Gautam Adani, and he is really looking back at the 1 year that has gone by and some very interesting quotes there and some very interesting insights there, and one among them, of course, being the fact that he let the bat do the talking and did not really appear much in the media, did not give interviews, and the performance of the companies all through last year have done most of the talking when it comes to the allegations which were made against the Adani Group by Hindenburg Research. At the same time, of course, the Supreme Court verdict also coming in favor of Adani Group, and those multiple instances leading up to that final verdict from the Supreme Court, where at one point the Supreme Court of India had also said that any media reports, including those of Hindenburg Research or OCCRP, cannot be taken as gospel of truth.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot has gone on in the last 1 year. 3 out of the 10 companies are doing better than the pre-Hindenburg research levels. Adani Group, in fact, the chairman of Adani Group, Gautam Adani, in his piece in the Times of India today, also looking at what they did right and how they went on, with life and went on with running the business in the best possible manner, and also in a way paying an ode or a tribute to those who continue to be invested in the Adani Group story. And not surprising, 2 names that find mention there are GQG and Qatar Investment Agencies. So QIA and GQG are 2 of the investors who continue to be focused on the Adani story, continue to pump money. Of course, they've made their own money by those investments when they invested into the Adani stock when it was trading at lower levels. But what Gautam Adani is also saying is that that gave them the war chest to go on and continue expanding business.
Absolutely. And let's take a look at some of the things that Gautam Adani and companies did right during that period, and one of which was to clear off the debt.
Yeah.
They started clearing off the debt immediately after Hindenburg, when the market cap hit an all-time low of 6.8 lakh crore rupees, and they continued on that trajectory till the end of the year, you know, giving investors some confidence in the future of these companies. Now, you're right, only 3 out of all the 10 listed companies have emerged out of those pre-COVID, pre-Hindenburg research levels. But, you know, rest of these companies have also shown a gradual upward movement. Trajectory has been on an improvement line when it comes to, you know, building investors' faith and confidence.
Absolutely. So I think let's look at what are the things that Gautam Adani did right. I don't know if we would now be in a position to, to question if there was anything wrong in the first place or not. And I think that part of the investigation continues to be with SEBI, and SEBI still trying to figure out, you know, those 2 out of the 24 pending issues which are yet to be closed on SEBI's own end. But from what we know is, let's look at what are the things that Gautam Adani definitely did do right. Number one, he continued to, and the group continued to, call the allegations baseless, continued to say that this is a war against India, not necessarily only a war against the Adani group. And Gautam Adani also saying that India's critical infrastructure, the ports and the airports, could have potentially taken a massive beating had the Adani group not had the wherewithal, the financial muscle and the right business practices to overcome that tide and that spade of attacks which were happening against India, as he calls it, not just against Adani group. Now, you're right. I think repayment of debt was definitely one major boost, one major step which gave the investors the confidence that Adani Group does have the financial muscle. And if the company is leveraged, it is leveraged only to grow exponentially. It doesn't mean they don't have the financial muscle to repay the debt. So it's a solvent company. The company does not have a problem with its cash flows. So that was one very strong statement that emerged with Gautam Adani and the Adani Group repaying a lot of debt on its books. The second was getting these investors like QIA and GQG to come in and invest at a time when it wanted to shore up that financial muscle. So these are things that Adani Group has definitely done right. I think what could have perhaps been expected from a group like Adani would have been, of course, a more frequent, open interaction with media. Let pointed questions come their way, come out in the public more often. Don't just call the Adani Group allegations baseless and OCCRP reports. In fact, he had preempted the OCCRP report by saying that something almost as catastrophic as the Hindenburg research report is likely to come out. So that statement had come before time. There was one interview.
But that's also owing to the fact that OCCRP did reach out to Gautam Adani and the Adani Group. So obviously they knew that a report is in the making.
Right. So, of course, I mean, it's difficult right now to understand that even at a time when Indian markets, the Sensex and the Nifty, both the indices are trading in higher territories from Jan 25th last year. 7 out of the 10 Adani groups are still in the red. They haven't been able to recoup their pre-Hindenburg research levels. The market cap of Adani Group is still down by about 5 lakh crores, which is a sizable amount. So, from its lows, it has recovered and it has in fact doubled the lows. But 5 lakh crores from the peak of its market cap is still a large number, and a lot of ground still needs to be covered.
And it looks like that ground could be covered. But, you know, before we close this chapter once and for all, is Adani out of the allegations that Hindenburg made? Can we now say for certain that those allegations have not stood the merit of the Indian judicial courts, and Adani Group has now been exonerated, so to say?
I think without paraphrasing too much, what I understand from the Supreme Court judgment is that let's not look at Hindenburg research, let's not look at OCCRP, let's perhaps not look at any other speculation which is out there in the media. The ball is squarely in the court of SEBI. The market regulator has to do its due diligence, has to conclude its investigations, and only upon conclusion of all the 24 points in that investigation, where, as we understand, 2 points are still open, mostly accruing to the fact that SEBI has not yet been able to penetrate those opaque structures of final beneficiaries at the top of the food chain of global investors in the Adani Group. But again, there is no scope left by Supreme Court for any investigative agency like ED to get in play here. And the investigation will have to be concluded by SEBI. How soon can SEBI conclude that?
That is inconclusive.
It continues to be inconclusive, but I think it rests on how soon can SEBI file its final report, and whatever it has found or things which are still left open will at some level help us understand, is there scope for some penalty on Gautam Adani or the Adani group of companies? Is there any potential of wrongdoing when it comes to minimum shareholding norms not being followed, etc.? But until that SEBI report comes out, I don't think the Adani group of companies is completely out of the woods. But there is massive relief that there isn't going to be any other investigative agency like the ED looking into the matter, and the ball is only in the court of SEBI.
All right. So while Hindenburg allegations are not closed once and for all, it appears that Adani Group has now got a fresh life, a lease for that matter, with its market cap doubling from its lows in the mid of 2023. All is looking nice and bright for Adani Group of companies. We'll of course keep bringing you all those details right after this very short break.
Pakistani spy agency ISI's sinister plan to target India. Training women to honey trap top civil and military officials. Counter honey trapping ops initiated by India. But gullible victims still caught in the web. Top military intelligence experts break down the web of deception. Colonel Hani Bakshi explains the phenomena of honey trap.
जहाँ पे भी आपको लगेगा, उनको लगेगा कि there is a person who is susceptible to women, who's making a lot of women friends on the social media. That is where they will make a spoof account and then start luring the person.
Colonel Pavitran Rajan decodes the psyche of the victim and the predator.
But when you go up the chain, no one enforces it to people at the top. That disciplinary regime and the security regime is not enforced at the top. And they usually have a public profile where it is much more easier to approach that person.
A News 9 special on how modern technology has added teeth to the ancient spying tactic.
Our story takes you inside Pakistan's honey trap machine.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, the US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. The big story that we are tracking, of course, is Prime Minister Modi has now kicked off the Lok Sabha election campaign with a mega rally that is likely to happen today as of this morning in Bulandshahr. Projects worth 19,000 crore rupees are to be unveiled in that rally. And Prime Minister, of course, Krishna Kumar joining us here in the studio. Krishna, it appears that Prime Minister Modi's development drive has now started, after the mega Mandir ceremony that we saw on 22nd of January. The subsequent development not just that of tourism when it comes to religion, but also generally development of infrastructure in the country has now kicked off with Bulandshahr as of this morning.
Right, I really wish that that headline that we're having over here, a development drive, it should be an infrastructure drive. Clearly, the year 2024, considering it's an election year, seems to be, Prime Minister Modi's focus seems to be on infrastructure. That's the reason why I've put a list of the stuff that nearly 20,000 crore rupees, over 19,000 crore rupees worth of projects to be initiated. Bear in mind, this is going to be a packed day for Prime Minister Modi, because at around 1:45 p.m. is when he's going to be in Bulandshahr to just kick off and officially announce these projects. And by evening 5 p.m. he's going to be in Jaipur with France's President Emmanuel Macron as well, who is of course in India as the as a guest of honor for Republic Day. It's going to be a packed day to start with, Shweta. But let's quickly go through what are the projects that are going to be inaugurated. One is the dedicated freight corridor that's going to be inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi, and that is going to be inaugurated in Bulandshahr, in New Khurja and New Rewari. It's going to be a double line electric corridor. It's a freight corridor. Bear in mind, so that is one project that's going to be inaugurated. Also, the fourth line connecting Mathura and Palwal section is going to be inaugurated, and
Chipiana, Bujurg and Dadri section as well.
These are railways and freight corridors that are going to be initiated. That's part of the 19,100 crore rupees that you were talking about. There are going to be multiple road development projects as well that are going to be initiated, which will include the Aligarh to Bhadwas, 4-laning work that's going to be inaugurated as well. There's going to be Meerut to Karnal border via Shamli that's going to be inaugurated as well, and a 4-laning of Shamli to Muzaffarnagar section as well. So there is going to be the rail development, infrastructure development, and then there's road development. We're not done here. There's going to be the Indian Oil's Tundla-Gavaria pipeline, which is also going to be inaugurated. So that's the kind of development drive. It's a good term that you call development drive, because it's going to be infrastructure in terms of rails and roads and oil pipelines as well. And so the project, the oil pipeline is meant to help the transportation of petrol products from Tundla to Gavaria T-point of the Barauni-Kanpur pipeline, with pumping facilities at Mathura and Tundla and delivery facilities at Tundla, Lucknow and Kanpur as well. So Prime Minister is going to be also inaugurating the integrated industrial township at Greater Noida, very close by to where we are sitting and having this conversation right here in Noida as well. It's the IITGN, Integrated Industrial Township at Greater Noida. So rail, road, oil pipeline and an industrial township. So, this is, big bang development drive in Uttar Pradesh, because lots of talk, if you open the newspapers here in Delhi NCR, there's lots of talk about the kind of investments that UP is attracting, because they improved law and order since the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath came into power for the second time and for the first time over the last 5 to 6 years. So all of that is meaning that you have a push from the Prime Minister himself to come up with a consolidated development drive for Uttar Pradesh. Bear in mind, this is coming straight from the Prime Minister for the state of Uttar Pradesh, and there's tons of development that's being done, keeping in mind the potential of Uttar Pradesh going forward. You're talking about the most populous state in the country, and it's been, hungry for development for a very long time. Just that the basics.
And attracted massive investments when it comes to, their own investment opportunities over the course of last 1 year, which was very surprising, because we often talk about vibrant Gujarat summit and the model therein, but UP, getting the FDIs, the kind of FDIs, at least the deals that were inked on paper, even though we don't know much whether there's a realization of that FDI dream or not, but massive, investments were promised at the Invest in UP summit.
Oh, absolutely. Look, let's take all these investor summits as seriously as we can, because the moment you talk about investor summits, I think there's a lot of skepticism about the fact that they just come and announce, it never really happens. But I come from the state of Tamil Nadu, and I know it for a fact that a lot of these things, many things do end up happening. The classic examples in this country are Gujarat and Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, and now it is time for UP. It is time for where we are sitting here and having this conversation right here in Noida and all across UP, not just in Noida. So that's the reason why you're talking about these rail corridors and road development projects in the interiors of UP. At the same time, an integrated industrial township in what can only be called the first cosmopolitan city of UP, which is Noida and Greater Noida as well. So this is a great shot in the arm for UP. First, it was at the state level where so many things got sorted, so much of bureaucratic hurdles got sorted. You have a very strong leadership at the state level, and now it's no less than the Prime Minister and the central government giving that much needed push for UP, along with all the FDI that you're talking about that is going to come. And here's keeping fingers crossed that 9 out of 10 deals, if not 10 out of 10 deals that was inked at the UP Investor Summit gets realized.
Absolutely. And as far as today is concerned, remember Prime Minister Modi is going to be in Bulandshahr, is also going to be in Greater Noida. There's a traffic advisory in place. So kindly check that traffic advisory if you are either coming or moving out of Noida for today. Prime Minister Modi will later fly down to Jaipur, where he will be receiving the President of France, who is a chief guest, incidentally, at the Republic Day tomorrow. But as far as taking a macro picture of these developments is concerned, let's not forget it's an election year. There is going to be a huge thrust towards development, and government will have to, of course, keep spending on people, and that, that is going to be important from two aspects. One, of course, is that you need to get those numbers up when it comes to consumption, when it comes to drive to develop the country, to bring people out of inflation, country out of inflation. That is number one. Number two is, of course, going to be the push towards development, which has been the pole plank of this government from the very start.
And if ever there was a good pole plank that was not just about politics, I think development of infrastructure, and look at the kind of projects that are being announced today. They're not the apart from the literally every single thing is about the building blocks of having a humming economic engine in the state of Uttar Pradesh. They're not the fancy ones, these are things: freight corridors, oil pipelines, roads connecting. There's a Mathura sewage scheme as well for Mathura. There's a lot of focus going to be on Mathura going forward, considering the Krishna Janmabhoomi, is just the movement is just about beginning. So, just like how, people will be skeptical of, what can a temple do? And now everybody's like, oh, the temple can do so much for a town like Ayodhya, and the development and the business that's going to come into Ayodhya. So the point here is that, all of this is very clear that the government, whether it's a pole plank or not, be it at the central level or the state level, is very intent on developing Uttar Pradesh. And you have to, you can't just leave development out to the southern and the western states. Imagine, along with the development in the southern and western states, if the UPs and Bihars of this country can make a big say in the economics of the country, in the GDP of this country. Imagine all those GDP projections can go out of the window if UP can beat all expectations in terms of its own state level GDP. And clearly everything is being done. If election years can result in great development of infrastructure, I want every year to be an election year, Shweta.
Hopefully not. It also incurs a lot on people's pocket, on the government exchequer to conduct elections. But, as far as government's drive towards development is concerned, it appears to have now kick-started. This is an election year. Many such programs will happen throughout the year. But shifting focus to another very interesting story emerging from Delhi at the moment. AIIMS-Delhi will be adopting a 100% digital payments method, which will be made applicable starting today. But the last date for you to at all transact in cash is 31st of March, post which you will have to adopt, Krishna, that digital card, that smart card that you can top up and ensure that every transaction that is happening within the premise of AIIMS will be happening through that smart card.
Right. Look, we've been talking about Digital India for how many years right now, and if there's one place where Digital India really needs to have a very serious say, it's healthcare. It's a topic that doesn't get, because the moment you talk Digital India and digital payments, you're always talking about paying for food on your food delivery apps, or paying for your shopping on your shopping apps, or even your cab apps as well. But the fact of the matter is that to move to digital payments, which means that in between all the hassles of patients in hospitals having to deal with documents and medicines and other issues, why would you want to be carrying cash and be worrying about all of those things? And might as well put it on a card and keep transacting via a card, and all you need to be careful about is having that card on you. So this is certainly a good move, because bear in mind, either way, even as this news arrived, the General Insurance Council of India has come up with a very important decision that policy insurance policy holders can get cashless treatment in hospitals, irrespective of whether that particular hospital that they're admitted in is empaneled or is part of their insurance company's network of hospitals or not. So clearly there is a wider cashless drive that is going on in hospitals, because I can confidently tell you that hospitals are not the greatest place to be worrying about your cash and where do you keep the cash. If a few notes fall off from your pocket, because your mind is all taken about the patient at the hospital and not other things. So all of these things basically mean that going cashless in healthcare is certainly the way forward, Shweta.
Absolutely, going cashless, and it has started with AIIMS-Delhi, but also many insurers now, in fact all insurers now, going cashless for every hospital. If you have an insurance, whether that hospital is impaneled or not, that decision is of course very important towards a healthcare system that is likely to be free of cash, no cash, and moving towards a digital ecosystem very, very soon. But before we close this bulletin, a very interesting story is emerging for those people who are hoping to buy Teslas in India. It appears that Tesla is likely to drive a crossover SUV, which will be costing almost about $25,000. That is the projection so far. It will be launched next year, and it will be for Indians, is what we are picking up.
Right, you're still talking about it in terms of dollar terms. I really wonder what is going to be the rupee price tag the day it arrives in India.
Maybe literal conversion would mean approximately 22 lakh rupees, if I'm not correct. If I'm not wrong, 22 to 23 lakh rupees.
Okay.
And that's a very lucrative price point for an EV, and that to Tesla.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you, Shweta. And that's exactly what we wanted, or meant the expectations, at least not we wanted, the expectations on Tesla were that if you are going to be entering the Indian market, and if you can have a car that is in the 20 lakh price range, it will attract a lot of buyers, because bear in mind the car prices have just gone up, SUV prices have just gone up, and you're talking about Tesla, an electric company, it's a crossover SUV. So all the bells and whistles are perfect as it comes to this particular Tesla car. The moment you say SUV, Indians is, जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं, कान खड़े हो जाते हैं. The ears just stand up, pop out, and and one day like, oh my God, how I want to get my hands on this. So Elon Musk announcing a $25,000 car. Bear in mind, it was promised 3 years ago. It's already in 2020. I mean, we're just at the beginning of. We're just at the beginning of 2024. I'm not counting 2024. So I'm saying 3 years. So it is. Look, Tesla as a brand. Imagine all the additional affluent Indians who've been added into this affluent Indians, a category in the recent past. There was even a news report this morning saying about how salaries have gone up, the disposable incomes are going up. So many, when they look at the 20-odd lakh rupee price tag that you're talking about, will definitely find Tesla. How do you premiumize your drive? Because there are so many SUVs out in the market. For the Indians who are willing to shell out 20 lakh rupees, the term Tesla can have a great premium value, because how many people have a Tesla in the country at this stage? And second of all, Tesla has got a good track record in terms of making good cars, making good electric vehicles, and India is certainly going the electric vehicle way. You see the way the Tata Nexon electric vehicle has done. So many electric vehicles have got people interested. The only thing is that the explosion of electric vehicles hasn't happened in India, and maybe, just maybe, it is Tesla that will, finally arrive and give that, definitive push towards the electrification of Indian roads and Indian customers opting for electric vehicles. I mean, I'm hoping.
And at sub $25,000, it's no more premium, so to say, because people who want to have a premium experience are ready to pay for that premium experience, and hence the reason why Tata Nano never took off, because people wanted a car, but they didn't want it cheap. So if that is going to at all hurt Tesla's plans for India, we don't know. But Indians are very conscious of the premium they are willing to pay and what they need, and should not be accessible to everyone out there, because it's then no more premium.
Right. The thing is that if you look at a Tata Nexon EV and you compare the prices of that with a regular Tata Nexon petrol or a diesel, the premium is a good 30 to 40% from what you're from the base price. If a Tata Nexon, if you the one you can get for say 10 lakhs or 11 lakhs, the electric version is going to cost you nearly 16 to 17 to 18 lakhs even. So there, if you're willing to push yourself another couple of lakhs on that budget, you're going to get a Tesla instead of a Tata start our next one.
Right.
So, and even your MG cars, your MG electric vehicles are costing upwards of 20 lakh rupees at this stage. So, in that sense, Tesla will be is competitively priced, I would say, coming as a brand new car in the market, a car that's done well in the US market. So, you're talking about a car that really has done well in the developed markets of the world, arriving in India at a competitive price tag. So, it'll be very interesting to see the choices that the Indian customer will make. I'm not saying anything, I'm not guaranteeing Tesla's success in India, but I have to say it does look extremely attractive at this stage.
Absolutely, and it could be a mass market car. That is what Tesla is hoping at the moment. May not be the premium car that a lot of Indians
the mass market premium car.
The mass market premium. I think that works for Tesla. It works for every person in India who's looking to buy a Tesla perhaps in the future, but a crossover SUV very, very soon as next year, under $25,000 for Indian market. That's the word coming in as far as Tesla is concerned. But with that, we have run out of time on the show. Thank you very much for watching.